Tomorrow night is New Tuesday, and our two-night event continues as Buffy moves to a new night in time, 8/7 Central and Mountain.
Buffy!
The night of passion that Buffy has shared with Angel will unleash a horror no one has ever known.
People are going to die.
And tomorrow, someone she trusts will turn on her.
I know what I have to do.
Everything will change.
Things are about to get very interesting.
Joss Whedon's Buffy the Vampire Slayer at its new earlier time. Tonight on Buffy, nothing will ever be the same.
Things are about to get very interesting.
Someone Buffy knows, someone she trusts, is going to turn on her.
No!
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, tonight on the WB. Welcome to the premiere of New Tuesday, a brand new night of television on the WB. Tonight's Buffy event is intended for our adult and teen viewers and is not recommended for children. Now, the conclusion of the Buffy two-night event.
I love you.
A night of passion between Buffy and Angel unleashed a horror no one has ever known.
Buffy!
And someone Buffy knows will turn on her.
I know what I have to do.
Tonight, the chilling conclusion of Joss Whedon's Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Hello, yo, and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James, and I will take you to the docks.
Oh, God, don't start me on that again. I will start and I won't be able to stop. This week, we will be backstroking into Season 2, Episode 14, Innocence.
Yes,
Again.
backstroking like Angel into Buffy on her 17th birthday.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Well, that'll wrap it up for this week, folks.
Oh, yikes.
All righty then. So yeah, do we have any anything from last week? Any news, notes, corrections, additions, insults, anything like that?
No, sir, we do not.
Oh, okay. Well, again, no one likes us, so that's par for the course.
Also, part one of this week's episode hasn't actually dropped yet for the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. But when I say last week, I basically just mean
No, I know what you mean.
is
I'm just giving you shit. No, we haven't. It's been silent on the socials. So, but
All righty then. Well, one can hope. One can hope.
it's par of the course at this point. So,
Definitely. Why don't you cook us up some delicious and nutritious dates and deets?
I will do that. As previously stated, we are backstroking into Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2, Episode 14, the 26th episode of the series overall, Innocence. Our episode director this week is He Who Shall Not Be Named. And our episode credited writer this week is also He Who Shall Not Be Named. Our original air date was January 20th, 1998, and this was part 2 of a Buffy two-night event. So even though Surprise and Innocence aren't billed as episodes part 1 and 2, they are in fact very much a two-part episode. So if you've yet to listen to our recap of Surprise, stop now and go
Surprise!
Stop now and go listen to it, because it'll take you to the docks.
And around the 71-minute mark, you will see me lose my shit and be unable to recover said shit for about 15 minutes.
This originally aired on the now defunct WB network, and our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, David Boreanaz as Angel, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest cast this week includes Seth Green as Oz, Kristen Sutherland as Joyce, Robia Lamort as Jenny, James Marsters as Spike, Juliet Landau as Drusilla, Brian Thompson as the Judge, Vincent Chiavelli as Uncle Enyos, and that's it. Our episode synopsis this week reads: Buffy must destroy Angel after he loses his soul and reverts to his evil persona, Angelus. And Giles learns that Jenny is a gypsy.
God damn, they might as well. Fuck, what do we need to do? Well, they pretty much. Let's just call it. Now, mine is a little more succinct and a little less. Hey, let's just give you the whole plot. Buffy and her friends battle the Judge and face unexpected danger from Angel, who has lost his soul after experiencing a moment of true happiness.
Okay.
So, yeah. Why don't you take us into the old cold open there, Yames?
I will. We open with a quick montage, kind of a recap of last week's episode. So we'll run through that real quick. Buffy and Angel bone, and Angel is in pain. He's outside of his apartment in an alleyway in pain. That's our little recap for last week's episode. We actually open our episode in the warehouse where Spike and Drusilla have taken up residence, and the now fully assembled Judge is kneeling kind of off to a corner facing a bunch of various racks, and Spike wheels into view. He's in a wheelchair, and he proceeds to tell Drusilla he's not happy. Buffy and Angel are still alive, and they know where they're at, and they know about the Judge, and basically they should be getting the hell out of town. And Drusilla basically tells him, he's being a dumbass, and they're not going to bother him, and Angel's too smart to face the Judge again. And Spike asks her what the Judge is doing anyway, and the Judge says he's preparing, and Spike says that preparing looks a lot like sitting on his ass and not doing anything.
Yeah, it does look very similar to that.
And the Judge tells him that his strength is growing. He's trying to get back up to full power, and all of a sudden Drew starts like moaning, almost in pain, and she collapses to the floor and starts to cry, and she says Angel's name, and Spike rolls over to see what's going on, and Spike asks her if he asks her if she sees something, and she stops crying and just kind of gives an evil smile to the camera. At that point, we cut to Angel's apartment, and Buffy's waking up in Angel's bed, and she reaches over, and he's gone, and we can hear rain outside, and she looks around, and Angel's not there, and we cut back outside to the alley, and it's stopped raining now, and we see Angel.
Who's out in that alley, James?
Angel is in that alley.
Yeah, he is. And this theme music starts for some reason.
It's really weird because it's like 2 years too early.
Yeah, but it's right there. It is just in the alley.
There it is,
looking around like what the
right.
Fuck
He's
is
like, what the hell is going on? When did I get my own theme music?
Right.
And we see Angel still collapsed on the ground in pain, and he calls out Buffy's name, and he ends up further collapsing onto the ground, and he kind of lets out a scared "oh no," and we see what I can only presume is a streetwalker.
Yep.
It's like
She comes out
standing.
of a doorway, and she looks like
Yeah,
Tammy's cousin. She's smoking a cigarette.
she is, yes. And she walks up to Angel, and he's behind. She walks up behind him, and he's on the ground, and she asks if he's okay, and do you need me to call 911? And Angel suddenly stands up, and he's like, no, the pain is gone. And she says, you sure? And he says, yeah. And he spins around, and he's in full vamp face, and he grabs her and violently bites it into her neck and starts to feed. And then he drops her body to the ground and tilts his head. And this is such a cool scene. He tilts his head and proceeds to blow smoke as if he had just taken a big drag off of his cigarette because she was smoking his cigarette.
Cool,
And
cool, yes. Ridiculous, oh yes.
yeah. And he says, I feel just fine. And roll credits. That is our cold open.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed? And this is a common theme in this show and Angel throughout all of it. When a vampire feeds, it takes them like 5 seconds, and they suck a person dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really quick.
Yep.
Anyway, we come back from what would have been our commercial break, and Buffy has returned home. And after her all night dalliance there at Angel's, and she tries to kind of come through the house quietly and whatnot, and she starts to go up the stairs, and then there's Mom, and they begin talking, and Mom's like, well, how did you have fun at Willow, or did you have fun? And Buffy's like, what do you mean? And she's like, at Willow's. And oh yeah, Willow, yeah, total, lots of fun. Willow's a real character. Like she'd already forgotten her cover story. So but Joyce definitely notices there's something different about Buffy, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's the after fuck glow, Mom. Have you forgotten what that's all about? And so anyway, Buffy's like, yeah, I'm gonna go up and take a shower, so bye bye. And then we cut to the library, and Xander, Giles, Willow, and Cordy and Miss Calendar are discussing the fact that Buffy never did check in with them, and they don't know what's up, with her or Angel, that they didn't check in after that confrontation with Spike and Drusilla. And Xander and Willow are like, well, we're going to the fucking factory, where they were last. And they're all like, Giles and Jenny are basically like, that's not a good idea, because if Buffy and Angel were there and they couldn't defeat the judge, what the fuck do you two think you're gonna do? And Willow basically gives them the smackdown, and she's like, fuck you guys, this is our friends. We're going, by God. And as she has her and Xander go to head towards the door, there's Buffy. Buffy's there, and she basically fills them in that no sense looking at ports and stuff anymore, because the judge has been assembled and he's all together, and it's not fucking good. And they're like, well, what's up with Angel? And Buffy's like, well, you guys don't know? I don't know. We split up after we were hiding in the sewers, and obviously she's not telling them the full story. And but she begins to worry because he hasn't checked in with them either. Like, he disappeared from bed, and then he has not checked in. No one has seen him, so she's a little concerned. And then Willow asks, do you think he went after the judge on his own? And Buffy's like, no, but I sure wish he would check in with me. And Jenny is kind of watching this exchange from afar. That fucking traitorous bitch. And then we cut back to the factory with Drew and Spiky, and they're having a bit of a conversation, and they bring him up, or Spike brings him up, and right at that time, Angel just kind of saunters in, and you know, he's just like, "What up, yo? I'm here." And they're like, "The fuck?" And Spike tells the judge, he's like, "Burn this motherfucker." So the judge gets up and goes over to him, puts his hand on his chest, and nothing happens. And the judge is like, "This one's clean. There's no humanity in this one." And just turns around and walks away. And they're like, "What?" And Angel smiles and says, "I couldn't have said it better myself. That's right, I'm back." And so Drew and Spike are quite happy to see Angelus back. And Drew asks him, what happened. And Spike, he's like, "Who cares? It's just, I'm just glad he's over all this. I've got a soul crap." And Drusilla invites Angel to join them in their quest to destroy the world. And of course, Angel pops a cigarette in his mouth and lights a match and lights a cigarette, takes a draw, and yada yada to show that he's truly evil, you see. And he basically tells him to lay low for one night because he really wants to fuck with the Slayer. Like, he's not interested in killing her quick or anything. He wants to, like, fucking torture her. So they're like, "Okay, I guess so." And we cut to Xander, Willow, Giles, and Cordy, and they're not having much luck finding info on the judge from any of the books in the library. And Willow's on the phone trying to console Buffy, who's been out looking everywhere for Angel, basically with no success. And Xander joins Cordy in the stacks, and they start kind of quarreling, arguing as normal, and then kissing. And then we see they kind of stop kissing and they turn a little bit to the side, and Willow's standing there just with a look of horror on her face. And she turns and bolts, and Xander's like, "Fuck." So he bolts after her, and she flies out of the library and into the school, into the halls, and he's right behind her. And I found this whole exchange to be pretty good, so we're gonna play a clip of it. It's a little bit long, but man, it's a really good clip. So let's play their interaction here.
Oh, come on. I knew it. I knew it. Well, not knew it in the sense of having the slightest idea, but I knew there was something I didn't know. You two were fighting way too much. It's not natural.
I know it's weird.
Weird? It's against all laws of God and man. It's Cordelia, remember? The We Hate Cordelia Club, of which you are the treasurer.
Look, I was going to tell you.
Gee, what stopped you? Could it be shame?
All right, let's overreact, shall we?
But I'm...
Willow, just kissing. Doesn't mean that much.
No. It just means that you'd rather be with someone you hate than be with me.
Man, that cuts deep.
That scene it's damn near heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is, and she plays it so well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she turns and leaves him, and he's kind of stunned. And we cut back to Buffy, who's gone to Angel's apartment, and she goes in and everything, and there he is. He's just like normal Angel. He's getting dressed. Looks like he's had a shower. He's getting dressed, and she's super relieved. Of course, runs up to him and hugs him and everything. But he's acting kind of cold and distant and just kind of weird, and implies that their night together, wasn't a big deal, And she's like, "The fuck?" And he just says a lot of things like along those lines, like, "It's no big deal, and blah blah blah." And she's obviously pretty devastated by all this, and she's crying and
Implies that it wasn't any good.
Yeah, also implies that she wasn't even really that good, so it wasn't anything to write home about. And she's like, and he's like, yeah, I should have known you wouldn't have been able to handle this. And he just puts his coat on and fucking leaves. And she's like, utterly fucking devastated.
This, whereas the last scene was damn near heartbreaking, this scene was heartbreaking.
Yeah, because SMG, she is so good.
At
Just
emoting.
yeah, well, I was gonna say she's just so good at acting, number one, but she is very good at being how am I trying to say? She's very good at being um you just feel for her, when she's having these type of emotions, and like you can just feel it. I don't know how she
Yeah.
pulls this, where she pulls it, where she pulls from to be able to do scenes like this, but man, is she fucking good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, this entire scene it's just devastating. It's so heartbreaking, and uh, plus the um, Christoph Beck's Buffy Angel love theme playing over the whole thing while he's being just this complete jerk to her, and she doesn't understand why. And as good as SMG is in the scene, you know, Boreanaz making this heel turn was it was he it's it's damn near perfection,
Oh
honestly.
yeah, yeah. And it doesn't hurt that, like we've said many times before, they have always had outstanding chemistry, you know.
Right,
So
right,
it's fuck, man. It's definitely a mind fuck. So you can imagine how much of a mind fuck it must be to Buffy herself, you know.
right. So this scene was originally supposed to take place. So there's a brief bit at the beginning of the scene where Buffy's going home and she gets to her front door, and then she turns around, and that's when we cut to Angel's apartment.
Hmm.
So this scene was originally supposed to take place when Buffy is going to her house, and Angel confronts Buffy on her front lawn. Um, but while they were shooting it, um, Joss didn't like the way that the scene felt, so he switched it to Angel's apartment, kind of in the bedroom area, and he said she had to see him in the bedroom. She had to see him with his shirt off, and it had to be as intimate a scene as possible. And I don't like, for better or for worse, with Joss Whedon, as all things are now. I think it was the right decision. I don't know that it would have had such an emotional impact, uh, I, having taken place on Buffy's front lawn.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. You know, Josh is a sociopath, so he would know what it would take to pull off a
to
sociopathic
re-
bad.
to really hurt someone. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he would know. Uh, we cut to Jenny's apartment, which I've always thought looks like a hotel room, or are they at her uncle's hotel?
Yeah, we're at we're at Enyos's hotel,
Okay,
his
we're at
wherever
the
he's
uncle's
staying.
hotel,
Yeah,
and he's still ragging on her like he was in the previous episode, that she hasn't done a good job, and she's saying she's tried to keep them apart, but it hasn't worked, and she's trying to convince her uncle that Angel might be their only chance at defeating the judge, and that he could be a help. And uncle says that the curse that we put on Angel will go away if Angel achieves one moment of true happiness, and that Buffy would have to kill Angel. And kind of throughout all this, she kind of puts it together in her head like, oh fuck, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of, the light bulb kind of clicks, like, uh-oh, I hope nothing happened, and Angel's maybe not himself anymore. And they kind of part on bad terms, because Jenny's kind of tired of this whole curse thing and vengeance and all that. And she's like, basically like grow the fuck up, you know. She's very disappointed in Uncle Goofball here, so she just grabs her coat and her purse and bails. And then we cut back to the school, and Willow is still roaming the halls, and Xander catches up to her, and she basically says, "Listen, things are not okay between us, um, but what's going on with the judge is, you know, more important. So um, let's just we'll deal we'll deal with the other shit later. For now, we gotta focus on this judge situation." And he's like, "Okay, you know, fair enough." And right then the lights go out, and Angel's at the other end of the hall, and he's like, you know, he's kind of standing in the shadows, but they, you know, they can tell it's him, and he's he tells Xander, he says, you know, get the others. I got to show you something. And Xander's like, okay, and so he goes to do that and leaves him there with Willow, and he's like, Willow, come here, I need to show you something, and he pulls out his wiener, and he's like,
I, I literally was getting ready to interrupt you and be like, and Angel just whips his dick out
because he's got the trench coat on,
and just starts helicoptering right there in the shadows.
He opens up his trench coat and he's naked. He's like, no, but anyway, so she goes up to him, and right before she gets to him, Miss Calendar arrives, and she's got a cross in her hand, and she's kind of put everything together that's happened over the last day or so, and she's basically realized Angel is Angelus again. And so she's got a cross, and she holds it up to him, and she says, you know, get away from him. But it's too late. He's too close to her, so he reaches out and grabs Willow and spins her around. He's got her by the throat and has her facing everybody. And about that time, Xander comes running back because something didn't feel right to him either, and it clicked with him too. And he shows up and says he wants Willow to give a message to Buffy. And basically, it looks like he's gonna feed on her or kill her, something bad. And right when he says that, you hear Buffy say, "Why don't you tell her yourself?" And Buffy has arrived, and Angel says, "Well, it involves you finding the bodies of all your dead friends." And Buffy's like, you know, you got to fight it, Angel. I know the real you is somewhere still there inside. And he says, I am Angel, finally. And he lets go of Willow and grabs Buffy and tells her things are about to get interesting. And then he leaves. And I'm like, why didn't she just kick his ass and, you know, tie him up, put him in the fucking book cage, something, you know? I don't know. It's like, why would you just let the fucker walk away? But, you know, got to keep that drama going. So in the library, Giles is ranting about Angel having reverted to his former self of Angelus. And he's like, there has to be something that happened that triggered it. And if anybody should know what it is, it should be you, Buffy. And Buffy insists she doesn't know, but, you know, she's super emotional and everything. And all of a sudden she gets up and just runs out. And Willow's like, Giles, shut up. And basically, then it clicks with Giles. You know, like, oh, are you saying they fucked? Did he shag her?
No. That doesn't happen till later in the episode in the classroom.
Oh, my bad.
When
yeah.
Giles puts that together.
Yeah,
he's still pretty clueless right now.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Willow just tells him to shut up, and he's like, oh, okay. And then she punches him, and he gets just a little bit of a bloody nose.
Can we take? I just want to take a minute and talk about Jenny in this episode. I mean, so, and I kind of wish we had seen more of this from her in her earlier appearances, but she's very I don't want to say motherly, but like when Xander is like basically calling Cordelia heartless, for not wanting to try and find Buffy and whatnot, Jenny scolds him a little bit.
Mhm.
You know, in this scene, Giles is basically panicking about Angel being jealous again now, and Jenny it kind of scolds him here too, like
Yeah.
you can't talk like that around them. They're just kids,
Yeah, they're
you know.
kids. Yeah.
And I don't know. I kind of wish we had seen more of that from her up to this point. So
Well, I kind of
um,
think it works out though, because I think it's, it shows that she's over time has become, maternal towards them and,
right,
cares. And
yeah, she's growing closer to the group as time goes on. Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, to finish up that scene, she Cordelia points out that they've kind of basically hit rock bottom on trying to, figure anything out, and Xander basically has got a plan, and he says it involves Cordelia, and he's going to need Oz's van. Well, he doesn't say it like that, but that's in a nutshell. It involves
Yeah.
Cordelia, and he's going to need Oz's van. So we cut to the factory, and Angel's bragging about Buffy's face when he was like, "You should have seen her face when I, said all that," and blah blah blah. And Spike's like, "You didn't fucking kill her," and Angel's just like, "You just don't get it. It's not about killing. I don't want to. I'll kill her eventually, but to kill her, you have to love her." And he's you can tell that Angelus is definitely, which we knew from like the things he had done to Drusilla and stuff before turning her, that he is all about torture and torment, and like when it comes time to die, you just want to die kind of thing. So
Right.
whereas Spike is more just like 100 miles an hour, kill, 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 done with it, And so Buffy has returned home, and she's kind of looking at things she's gotten from Angel, and she's crying. And is this I believe this is the part where she takes the ring off, right? That he had given her in the previous episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's just a mess, and she basically curls up in her bed and just cries herself to sleep, more or less. And then she begins dreaming, and has a dream that Angel is on fire, and so is everyone else that she knows.
Well, first she dreamed she's remembering her and Angel in bed together.
Right, it's kind of erotic, and then it kind of becomes disturbing and involves Miss Calendar in a cemetery. It's a weird situation.
Well, it's one of her prophetic Slayer.
Yeah, it's like it's like her prophecy dream, but it's just how her prophecy dreams have been before, where it's weird. They're weird. Like you got to do a lot of reading in between the lines.
Right. And like in the scene, Angel, when they're in the cemetery now, Angel tells her, "You have to know what to see," and
Right.
she doesn't. She's obviously confused by that, and she looks up and she sees Jenny uncovering her face, and
Right.
that clicks.
And that's the last image she sees is Miss Calendar. So the next day, buddy, she's walking into school with some real
before you go on, those flashback scenes to Buffy and Angel in bed,
Mhm.
there's obviously awkward sex noises being made, lots of heavy breathing and stuff. But that actually wasn't
And somebody
from
farted during it too. I just heard like
that was me.
oh okay. My bad.
Um, uh, so that actually wasn't from David and Sarah. It was Joss and the supervising sound editor, Cindy Rabideau.
Okay, that's not where I thought you were going when you said it was I thought you were going to say it was actually Josh who had tape recorded himself fucking molesting someone. I was gonna be like,
No,
oh, God.
no, no. This is legitimate. It was Joss and the supervising sound editor recorded those noises because it was the first time Joss had uh, filmed a scene like this, and he was too embarrassed to ask David and Sarah to vocalize what they were
to vocalize
they were
during the
doing.
original filming of the original sex.
Yes.
Okay, I got
Yes.
you.
Yes.
So he went in there and was like,
Basically.
he's not too embarrassed to do that, but he's too embarrassed
Right.
to ask his professional actors to
Right.
vocally emote,
Right. But he
He's
wasn't too
such an enigma wrapped in a turd.
right. But he wasn't too embarrassed to say to supervising sound editor Cindy
Yeah.
Rabideau, like, hey, Cindy,
He
come into the
obviously-
sound booth with me. We're gonna have to simulate sex sounds right now.
That tells me that he obviously had a thing for this Cindy Rabideau or whatever, or just, you know what I'm saying, or just wanted to be
Right.
I don't know.
Creepy with her.
So fucking creepy, man. Anyway, where did I leave off? Oh yeah, so the next day after this dream, Buffy is walking through the school halls with a sense of fucking purpose, and you can tell she is pissed. And she marches through the halls right into Miss Calendar's room. And in Miss Calendar's room, Giles is in there talking to her, and there's some students in there. And they turn around as Buffy comes in, and they greet her and everything. But Buffy just beelines right to her, grabs her by the fucking throat, and like smashes her down on the desk. And what does she say? Tell me, what does she say to her?
She says, "What do you know?"
Yeah, what do you know? That's it. She's like, what do you know? And Giles is like, Buffy, what the fuck are you doing? And then there's a student or two that's like, do you want me to get the principal? And Miss Calendar's
Giles is like, fuck no, just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he just basically runs them all out. And he's like, no, everything's fine. It's just a student choking a teacher out on the
class dismissed, and everyone
class
leaves.
Dismissed. Yeah, and they're like, you're not even a teacher. You're fucking librarian.
But
anyway,
everyone leaves. But everyone leaves, don't they?
Everyone leaves, and she eventually lets Miss Calendar up, and she spills the beans, basically, that she never tells them like her real name, does she? I don't think she says.
No.
Yeah, but she pretty much spills the beans of everything else, and
right, like she's never like, I'm Jana of the what is it? The Calderash tribe, and
yeah,
but she gives them the basic gist of it. Yeah.
Right, and that she's aware that Angel has become evil, and she knows why. And that's when Giles finally is like, oh, and it's like, wow, Giles, you're not that fucking old. You're like 40. I mean, Jesus, it took you this many scenes to fucking put it together. But he finally puts it together. And he's such a brilliant guy. And but when it comes to like things like this, he's like, well, you guys went to use your. He's like, oh no. But yeah, he finally puts it together. And Buffy's like, curse him again. And she's like, I can't. That magic's gone. And then Buffy's like, then fucking take me to someone who fucking can, you fucking bitch. And we cut to Uncle Weirdo. And he's sitting at the little table in his hotel room, and the door slowly opens, and he says, I thought she would bring you to me. And Angel walks in wearing a little frilly pink dress, and he's like, hello, I'm here to see you, Uncle. No, it's Angel and not Buffy and Miss Calendar, and he's like, hello there. And we pretty much know what's gonna happen at this point, I think. But we do cut away from that scene. We don't see or hear anything. We cut to Oz, Willow, Xander, and Cordy arriving at the Sunnydale Army Base. That's right, folks. Sunnydale has an army base, and it's it is extremely undermanned because they're not only on the army base, but they pull up right next to a fucking weapons depot inside of the fence. Okay, so yeah, that's happening, and they're in Oz's van, and so basically, Xander has decided. I'm just going to make this quick and simple. Xander has decided he's going to have Cordelia act as a whore that he has quote unquote picked up, and that he is going to take her, and they're going to go inside of this storage depot, and that way, if they run into anyone, which they do, he can basically just say, come on, give me a few minutes here with this, how it turns women on to go in here and see all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And he gives this guy the riot act, he's holding his gun like a sissy and blah, 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 blah. Xander knows all about this stuff because of the Halloween episode when he had been turned into a soldier. So he remembers everything military based and just, he remembers everything.
Yep.
So yeah, they go inside. the one the one army guy you see, just one guy. This one guy, he allows him to go in. He's just a private grunt, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, go on in. That's fine. Shouldn't be any issues with that. Never seen you in my life, but should be fine." So, in the meantime, Willow and Oz are still in Oz's van because they're waiting for the signal in which they're supposed to get out and put this fucking ladder up to this window and whatever. So they're waiting for the signal. So they start talking, and at one point, Willow's like, "You want to make out with me?" And Oz is like, "What?" And it's funny as hell the way he says it. I don't even know how to. I can't do it justice, but he's like, "What?" And they're basically, he says he does not want to make out with her because he realizes that she's wanting to make her best friend upset and jealous right now. But there'll come a time, basically, and he's like, "And I can wait. It'll be fine. I'll wait." And that really makes her little heart sing, and she smiles and everything. And then she says, or Oz looks up through the windshield, and he's like, "Oh, we're up. That's the signal." So they get out of the.
I love this scene between them. Like we've talked about it before. Like they have chemistry on
They have
par.
fantastic chemistry, just like
it's on par with David and Sarah. Yeah, 100%.
It really is. And I think I honestly think Charisma Carpenter and Nick have great chemistry.
Yeah.
And
but there's something about the Willow and Oz relationship that, like, as much as I love Buffy and Angel, there's something about the Willow and Oz relationship, and I think it's something you and I have kind of talked about on the show before. I think it's like Oz genuinely caring about Willow, and Willow finally kind of getting that, that genuine affection that she, wanted from Xander and was always, trying to get from Xander and kept getting disappointed with, So I think that's part of what makes that relationship so great to see.
Yeah. And plus, and the Oz as a character, he's very he's just he's a perfect character for Willow. He's like a perfect love interest for her. Everything that she could ever want or need.
And I think and I think part of it too is watching the relationship develop slowly.
Yeah, it's a very slow burn, and I think that's good. It's Willow and Oz were always probably my favorite couple in the whole Buffy verse. So But anyway, so Jenny, Buffy, and Giles get to the hotel, Uncle Weirdo's hotel, and he's dead. He's dead as fuck. He's sprawled out on his bed. There's fucking blood everywhere. Like this motherfucker is dead. And
Right. He's not
Angel's
just dead.
no,
He's dead as fuck.
he's dead as fuck.
Right. Picture every horrible death we've ever described.
Yeah.
And then multiply it by about 20, and that's what happened to this poor bastard. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Angel went full tilt Angelus. Fucking like they don't show his face, but I'm assuming Angel ate his face off.
I was gonna say they don't show his face because undoubtedly he no longer has a face.
Yeah, like Angel's wearing it right now back at the warehouse. He's walking around going, "Look at me, I'm a gypsy weirdo." Ooh.
Right.
But and he's taken some of Uncle Weirdo's blood and written on the wall above him, "Hey bitch, fuck you." No, he wrote, was it good for you too? ? And Buffy's like, not really, for the first time he was, he wasn't that good, to be honest. And they're like, okay, well, fuck it. And they all just leave, and that's the end of the episode. And anyway,
so let's do a little monsterology.
So Giles, Giles is like, he's just trying to make it hard for you. Says that to Buffy. And Buffy says he's only
just like it was last night.
Just like it. And then Buffy says, well, he's actually only making it easier. And I know what I have to do. Kill him. And Giles is like, ding, ding, ding. And we cut to back to the warehouse, and the judge tells Spike that he's now ready. And Spike's like, fuck, finally, after sitting around on your fucking ass for the last fucking 2 days. And so they're going to go raise some hell, basically, but Spike can't go because he's in a wheelchair and is a liability. And he's like, I won't be in this thing forever. And Angel's like, yeah, you will, because I'm going to make sure you. But so the judge, Angel, and Drusilla head out to go raise hell. Spike he kind of wheels up to the camera as they leave, and he just gives a funny look, like he's just kind of like, I don't like this. I don't like this situation. And maybe foreshadowing of things to come. So then we cut back to the army base, and we don't cut to the army base. We cut back to the library, and Xander puts this huge fucking like wooden crate down to Buffy, and or wait, is that how?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. Does she open it then? My notes are fucked up in this part. Does she open the crate then and look at it, or no? Yeah, she does. They're looking at it at the table, and Xander's like, I brought you basically a toy. And that's when Miss Calendar walks in behind them and asks if she can help.
Yeah.
If there's anything she can do to help. And Buffy says, get the fuck out. Well, she says, get out. And then even Giles turns and says, she said, get out. And Jenny's like, God damn, you bunch of fucking cunts. So she leaves. And the weapon is a fucking rocket launcher, by the way. And
they don't show that. They don't show that though yet.
I know, but if you've ever watched anything remotely military related, you pretty much know it's a rocket launcher in this crate. I mean, what else is in this giant crate? A grenade? It's a fucking rocket launcher, and Buffy tells Xander to show her how to use it. And Buffy, Xander, Giles, Oz, Willow, and Cordy all head out to the factory, but find no one there, so they leave. That's the end of the episode because no one's there.
Turns out it's a 3-parter.
Yeah, it turns out it's a 3-parter. They're like, wah, 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 nobody's here. Spike's there, but he's kind of hiding in the shadows in his wheelchair. And Buffy basically says they should go where there's going to be a lot of people because that's where they're going to want to. That's where they would want to go and raise fucking hell. And Oz, that's when Oz says he knows where he would go if he wanted to be around a bunch of people. Where is that, James? At the mall.
At the mall because the Bronze is closed.
Because the Bronze is closed. James, take this penultimate scene here for us.
So we cut to the mall and Angel and Drusilla and the judge and a bunch of henchmen are there and
they're having a menage a trois, believe it or not.
Well, it's a menage a lotta because there's more than 3 of them.
Well, but it's just those 3 that are fucked. They're just literally laying like at the top of the steps fucking, and the mall shoppers are just walking around. I'm like, what the fuck?
What the hell's going on here?
They see this fucking demon guy with like a demon dick, and they're like, I don't even want to know.
Like, this is weird.
Like, what is
really weird?
By the way, what does a demon dick look like, do you think?
Oh,
is it a horn?
Show you.
Do you think it's a horn? Is it like a horn?
Yeah. It's probably like a horn, I would imagine.
Okay.
So Angel tells the henchmen to lock the exits, and the judge starts zapping people, and Buffy
and his
and
power, his power, like he shoots it out of his, because he doesn't have to touch anybody anymore. By the way, he's gotten full power back.
Right.
But like he reaches out and the power like shoots out of his hand, and it like hits a person, goes to another person, to another person, to another. It's like a web. It reminded me of something, and I couldn't remember what, like something from the 90s. What I mean is like it looked like it had been reused, a reused effect from something else, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Maybe I'm just imagining that. It looked like maybe something from like the Mortal Kombat movie or something from then. I was like, that looks so familiar, like they've rehashed that effect. But sorry, I didn't.
Right.
I mean, neither here nor there.
So Buffy and the gang show up, and Buffy shoots him with a crossbow bolt, and the judge is all like, bitch, what the fuck do you think you're doing? That's not gonna work against me. And what he actually says is, no weapon forged can stop me. And we cut to Buffy, and she lowers the crossbow, and she's like, well, that was then. And Xander hands her the weapon that was in the box, which is a rocket launcher. And she hefts it up on her shoulder, and she's like, this is now. And she turns it on, and the judge is all like, what's that do? And Buffy pulls the trigger and blows the fucking judge up.
Well, let's not forget that Angel and Drusilla know what the fuck is about to happen, and they're like,
right.
Oh hell, and they literally just throw themselves off this balcony.
Yes.
And while she blows the fucking judge into like, I don't even know how many pieces.
Yes. So Buffy makes a comment to Xander. She's like, best present ever.
Yeah.
And Willow asks if she thinks the judge is dead, and Buffy's like, we can't be sure, but we should pick up all the pieces and keep them separate. And they start to pick up the pieces of the judge, and Cordelia's all like, oh, our job sucks.
Yeah. And then Oz looks over and he's like, an arm. There's one of his arms, the judge's arms, laying there.
Yeah. And that's the end of that scene.
Well, the sprinklers come on due to the massive explosion.
Right. And then Buffy ends up chasing Angelus out into like a corridor,
Like the food
kind
court and thing.
yeah, yeah. And they proceed to beat the hell out of each other.
And this is definitely a karate fight because there's all kinds of fucking spinning back kicks and it's a karate fight.
And I say they beat the shit out of each other, but if I'm being honest, it's pretty one-sided. Like Buffy
Really is.
like
She's fucking his world up.
yeah, Buffy manhandles him.
Yeah,
like
she
nobody's
fucking
business.
Yeah, she mangles him, dude.
And
you have to tell how it ends.
I was getting ready to. If you'd stop interrupting me.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll do that. Go ahead. By the way, did you? No, I'm just kidding.
She pulls a stake and she's getting ready to stake him and she hesitates, like she can't do it. And Angelus calls her on it and he's like you can't do it, you can't kill me. And she proceeds to kick him right in his undead dick.
Yes, right in the dick. And right when it connects, it would have been so much better if they had played like a gong sound, like right then, like because I mean it definitely hurts because he's like, oh, and he just drops to his knees, man. He's done.
Yeah. And all Buffy says is give me time.
Yep.
And
walks away, leaves him there throwing up.
Yeah. So it's a couple of things real quick. This mall set, it was built in a closed Robinson's May department store on South Grand Avenue in Los Angeles.
Well, you can tell that they definitely had a budget,
a bigger budget.
Yeah, because I was like, damn it, they did such a good job. Like I wasn't sure if this was a built set or shot on location somewhere.
Yeah.
They did
yeah, job. It was kind of shot on location, but they redressed a closed department store to look like a mall.
And I think they pulled it off. Is it now? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is this the same? I bet is it the same mall set that Buffy and her mom were walking in the last episode?
It's possible, and that wasn't the last episode. That would have been Bad Egg.
I'm sorry, 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. They did a good job. They're definitely, you can tell. Here we are midway through second season, and they're really starting to get good at obviously they're getting more money,
right,
but they're also getting really good at set dressing and set design and shit.
So the original idea to taking out the judge was a tank.
Oh.
And
probably a little out of the budget.
Well, Whedon explained in an interview, we knew the tank was something we could never do, and we could never afford, and then we suddenly knew that the rocket launcher was what we desperately needed. But it was David Greenwald who suggested using a rocket launcher instead of the tank.
Yeah.
When they realized they weren't going to be able to afford a tank.
Yeah, I mean they does the same thing, shoot missile, blow up judge.
Right.
So let me take this this final scene because we have a clip to play with it.
Sure.
Giles is driving Buffy home. And he pulls up outside of her house and they start to have a talk, and man, this fucking scene is killer. And I'm going to play it, and listeners, you shall hear.
It's not over. I suppose you know that. He'll come after you, particularly. His profile. He's likely to strike out at the things that made him most human.
You must be so disappointed in me.
No, I'm not.
This is all my fault.
I don't believe it is. Do you want me to wag my finger at you and tell you that you acted rashly? I did, and I can. I know that you loved him. He's proven more than once that he loved you. You couldn't have known what would happen. Coming months are going to be hard. I suspect on all of us. But if it's guilt you're looking for, I'm not your man. All you will get from me is my support. And my respect.
And that's with him saying that, her eyes really well up. And whew, that's a powerful scene, dude. That
And it's just another great scene between Giles and Buffy. And
yeah.
again, SMG sells it so well.
I don't know how she
and
does it, man. That's why she makes
and
the
I
big
mean,
bucks, I guess, because
right. And I mean, Anthony Stewart Head, Ash, like he's
oh,
no slouch either. He's a hell of an
oh,
actor.
he's an
Especially
Englishman, man. Those there are no bad English actors.
right. But and especially in these emotional scenes with SMG,
Yeah.
he's just phenomenal. Yeah.
Every actor and every character of this show have great chemistry together. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it was just I don't know if it was just blind dumb luck with the casting, or what, but phenomenal. I don't know. That scene right there was just phenomenal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But that was the end of our episode. It was
No, it wasn't.
it wasn't.
No, there's a scene with Joyce and Buffy.
Oh yeah, I was gonna skip that. It's pretty fucking stupid. They're laying on the couch and being whiny and eating fucking popcorn and watching fucking what are they watching? Some old timey dumb shit.
They
If
are
you want to do the scene,
watching.
go ahead. I don't care.
They are watching 1936 movie musical Stowaway, starring Shirley Temple, Alice Faye, and Robert Young. And Alice Faye and Robert Young are singing the song "Good Night, My Love" as they dance in the scene. But yeah, Buffy and Joyce are sitting on the couch watching a movie, and um, um, Joyce brings her a cupcake and is apologizing because she didn't have time to bake her a real birthday cake. And
Because, she's so busy, Joyce never has time. You couldn't bake a fucking cake. You don't have anything else to do except walk the streets. Jesus Christ.
right,
Horrible mother.
but yeah, and Joyce asks how her birthday was,
And Buffy's like, you know what? Frankly, shitty because you're a shitty mother. And then she kicks her out the plate glass window.
And Buffy just says, "I got older," and Joyce lights the candle on the cupcake and wishes her happy birthday, and tells Buffy to go ahead and make a wish. And Buffy kind of stares at the flame and says, "I'll just let it burn." And that's the end of the episode.
But she secretly wishes for a new mother. Yeah, I was just going to skip that scene. I don't know, something about it. It just fell flat as 4:00 to me, and it seemed like something totally unnecessary. That episode should have ended with that fucking scene with Giles, dude. That was the fucking. That was just the perfect ending. I mean, this scene just kind of, to me, it just kind of sucked away a lot of the emotion that we just got in that scene with Giles, and I was like, bleh.
Right. Jeremy.
Yes, James, yes.
Will you tell me how many moments of true happiness do you give this episode?
I think this is my first time. I'm giving this a 5, baby. I believe this is the first episode I've given a 5 to. Okay. God, what is there even to say? That there were three scenes in this episode that are just phenomenal, that are like Emmy worthy fucking scenes, in my opinion. I mean, the writing was phenomenal. The directing was phenomenal because let's face it, he who must not be named is a phenomenal director and a phenomenal writer,
Right.
and
Right.
he just knocked it out of the park in this episode. I mean, the scenes we've already discussed that were just unbelievably good. The fact that this was like a perfect part two of a part one. You know what I mean? It was like the perfect bookend. It wrapped everything up nicely and yet still leaves it. We still know that Angel is going to be basically the big bad of the rest of this season, at least. And how are we going to get Angel back? You know, get rid of Angelus and get Angel back. How are we going to do that? So we know that that's still there.
Right.
So I mean, I literally can't. There's nothing in this episode that I can complain about other than that that last scene we just talked about. I thought it was so a very bad idea. I think the episode should have ended when her eyes welled up and she started to cry when Giles said, you know, the only thing you'll get from me is support and my respect. You should have went straight to credits right then. I mean, that was fucking powerful shit. But you know, for time reasons or for whatever else, you know, they had to shoot that little scene with Joyce, who that's the one relationship I have never throughout the entire run of this show, I never get behind that relationship. I never feel that mother-daughter relationship there. And it's not the fault of SMG or Christine Sutherland as actors. It's
Right.
just it's never there. It's never really there. She's, you know, Joyce is treated as a secondary. Well, we need something in this. Oh, okay, we'll bring in mom here at this part here and have her do or say this. And
Right.
so anyway, yeah, that would be my only complaint about the episode is that final scene. But man, other than that, to me, perfection.
Yeah.
Um, so James,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
how many rocket launchers would you give this episode?
I am going to give this episode 5 rocket
Yeah,
launchers.
yeah, baby.
This is the you know I said it last week when I gave um Surprise a 4. Like Surprise was a damn near perfect episode, but it wasn't a 5 episode, and you know a 5 episode when you see it. And this show has plenty of 5 episodes coming up throughout,
It does.
you know. And this is one of them. This is a 5. It's perfect on every level. Like you said, there's at least 3 uh, Emmy nominated scenes, or should have been Emmy nominated scenes in this episode. The writing is stellar. The direction is stellar. You know, Joss, for better or for worse, he's great at what he does. You
Hmm.
know, in this regard, and you know the acting is just phenomenal. Um it it's just there's nothing wrong with this episode. It's perfect. Um the the reveal of Angel as, you know, your big bad for the season, you know, like who would have seen that coming? Like
Yep.
it's completely out of left field, and it's very Faustian
Hmm.
um in that regard. You know, it's um for anyone not familiar, the story of Faust, he's a scholar, and he sells his soul to the devil for worldly possessions, with the caveat that should he ever experience true happiness, that's when the devil would get his soul.
Yep.
So so yeah, like it's so, like I said, it's very Faustian. It's just so good. It's so good, and I think um, I kind of said this earlier in the season with "Lie to Me." That was the episode with uh, what's his face, her her grade school crush, right? Was that Lie to
Oh
Me?
yeah, God, what was his name? But
Um,
yeah, that was the episode.
um, I said this then, and uh, I I don't necessarily want to take it back, but so I said then that that was kind of the first episode in this rewatch that I was kind of like, this really feels like the show I remember and the show I love. Um, but this episode is that plus some.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
when the
surprise with this one, combined.
right
Yeah,
when this was over, I was like, this this is it. Like this is the show. They like everything is just falling into place perfectly, and it's so good. It's so fucking good.
Yep. All the emotion and all the drama and even the melodrama, there's just the right amount. It's they've really
Right.
now they have really found their footing in this show.
Right. The character interactions, the dialogue, it's yeah, this episode is these two episodes really um yeah, yeah.
Well, as we've said before, these two episodes are definitely on the list of episodes you have to show someone who hasn't seen the show.
Oh yeah, these are definitely on that list of oh, you've never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Let me sit down. You're about to fucking see some shit.
Yeah,
And and
you're about to get your mind fucked.
and these yeah, oh yeah, these episodes are definitely part of that list.
Yep.
Um and honestly, the rest of this season, me personally, I'm gonna be hard pressed to find episodes that I wouldn't put on that list.
Well, the rest of this season is extremely good because
It is.
it knows what it they know exactly what they're going for the rest. Like previous, it's more of like a week to week, like, okay, what are we gonna do this week? Whereas this, they're like, oh, here's the fucking prize at the end of the fucking tunnel, and we just
Right,
got to get there, and here's how we're gonna do it, and
right.
it's
And
phenomenal.
then, like, not to spoil anything, and I won't give away any details, but like you said, like you with Angel's heel turn, you know what the goal is now,
Mhm.
and we see it in these coming episodes. Obviously, the main goal is how do we get Angel back? Like,
Yeah,
how do we do that? And again, without spoiling that what's to come, the resolution to that we get is not at all what
it
you
is a
anticipate.
mind fuck.
It is not at all what you anticipate.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a total. It's a
right,
mind fuck. Like this is a show that wasn't fucking scared in the '90s to be like, oh, we're gonna throw you a curveball. You think you know what's up?
right, right.
And that was not common back in that era.
Oh no, not at all, not at all.
Nowadays, it's
And
if you don't do that,
right, you're a hack.
kind of, yeah, you're a hack. So
Right. But yeah, and 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 this is something we've talked about that before, and you just said it now. That's something that that Joss was so good at, like creating with this show, and then on into it. And I've already thought about how much I want to talk about when we finally get to it. That first episode of Angel City of
yeah,
the way that episode completely, as much as Buffy did up to that premiere of Angel in the fourth season of Buffy, the first season of Angel, as much as Joss kind of changed things and kind of throws you on your head, time and time again. That first episode of Angel City of, like that, a he just does it all over again. Just
mhm,
sets a whole nother new standard of what shows can get away with.
yep. And
Like,
not to mention that series with 4 seasons of Buffy behind him, the Angel series just is so goddamn good. It's so
oh,
goddamn good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just it doesn't suffer from a lot of the things that Buffy started. You know, the rocky stuff and kind of figuring out. Yeah, it's just fuck you good from
Well,
the go.
well, so I think it does suffer a little bit at the beginning, but they very, very, very quickly figure out what.
Yeah, like what the DNA of the show is.
Right, right.
Yeah, and
And I
it's
think it helps. And I mean, people that are listening already know, the gist of Angel. I think it also helps that your core, your two of your main leads of Angel were characters that you didn't have to give them backstory
yeah. You didn't have to start from
necessarily.
scratch.
You didn't have to start from scratch with at least two of the main characters
Mhm.
because you already had 3 years with those characters. So it was just keep carrying those characters on the trajectory they were already on. But anyway, we're way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we're
but
jumping way ahead, but
unfortunately, that's kind of what tends to happen when you get two people that like love this show as much as we do,
oh yeah.
and we finally get like episodes like this that really drive that home for us. You kind of start to ramble on about the future of the show
Yeah, because
and all the
it
other
gets you
good things.
excited. You're
Right,
like, oh shit, and then
right,
this is oh yeah, then that's coming, and you know.
right.
So.
But let's get back on track with this episode. How about a little monsterology?
Please do.
There is none.
I know. There's zero.
Our body count this week is 4.
Is that counting
Uh,
the judge?
that is counting the judge. Yes,
Even
we
though
have.
I don't think he's actually dead, but dead good enough to be dead.
Right. Yeah, we've got our dead hooker that Angel killed. Uncle Enos that Angel killed. The dude in the mall that the judge killed, and the judge.
Yeah.
Little behind the scenes. I think we alluded to this last week. Brian Thompson, who plays the judge, also played Luke, aka Jawbone. In our 2-part series premiere, Welcome to the Hellmouth and the Harvest. Ironically enough, both episodes were 2-part episodes in which his character dies at the end
Yeah.
of the second part.
Well, I'm pretty sure every character Brian Thompson has ever played in his career dies. So
Probably.
he's used to that. He's kind of like he's kind of like the American Sean Bean. You know.
This episode marked the show's permanent move from Mondays to Tuesdays.
Yep.
This episode was the highest rated episode of Buffy ever.
Really?
Ever.
Wow. I figured the finale of this season would have been the highest rated, but wow.
It was the highest rated episode of Buffy ever, scoring a 5.2 in the Nielsen ratings.
Right.
And a 6. This is something we haven't really touched on before. It scored a 5.2 in the Nielsen ratings and a 6.7 in the overnight ratings.
Jesus. People,
And
again, I've said this a million times, but people these days that are younger have no idea what that means and how powerful that was.
so each Nielsen point counts for one Nielsen point counts for 980,000 households.
Right.
That comes out to roughly 8.2 million people watched this episode.
Right. People don't understand, man. It's because nothing gets ratings like that anymore. Nothing. It maybe like say the Super Bowl or the first part of the like the first half of it, or the World Cup. But I mean, other than mega events like that, nothing gets ratings like that anymore. Like Game of Thrones on HBO didn't have ratings like that. You know,
Nope.
it doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately.
Our Browns ban this week was none because the Browns was closed. So
You
we
just
didn't
love
get to
doing
go
that
to the
every week.
Browns. I do. Our music this week includes Close Your Eyes, the Buffy and Angel love theme, Yesterday on Buffy, Spike My Boy, What's That Do, Get Out, and Moment of Happiness, all original compositions by series composer Christoph Beck.
Good job, Chris,
Um,
because the music in this episode was stellar.
oh yeah, I mean, the music plays such a large part in how you as a viewer emotionally react. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, would that Buffy and Angel scene, you know, uh, in in his apartment have been devastating without the Buffy and Angel love theme playing? Yeah, 100%. Did hearing that music play over that scene make it that much more heart-wrenching? Fuck yeah, it did.
Yeah, I did.
How about your favorite, Jeremy? Some goof 'em ups and oopsies.
I love me some goof 'em ups and oopsies.
Um, in the scene when the judge gets blowed up,
Yeah.
you can see Juliet Landau's reflection in the brass plating behind her in the mall doorway.
Yeah.
Um, so after Angel reveals himself at the school and Xander tells Cordelia to meet him at Willow's in half an hour, um, the the next scene is uh, Buffy going home and falling asleep and waking up the next night. And then the scene after that is the heist. So there is apparently either the heist didn't take place that night when Xander told Cordelia to meet him at Willow's in half an hour, and it took place the next night, or there was an editing mix up.
Yeah. Or Buffy slept for 2 solid days.
Um, if you notice the explosion that's made when the rocket hits the judge actually starts before the rocket hits the judge, and that's because they had to figure out a way to mask the rubber rocket bouncing off the stone statue of the judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all I have for this episode.
Well, alrighty. James,
Yes, sir.
got any final thoughts on this phenomenal episode?
No, I think I personally I said it all in the rating. It's just this is a perfect episode. Um, if if you asked me to sit down and write out a list of perfect episodes from my favorite TV shows, this would be on that list, and it would be damn near the top of the list. So
Agreed.
yeah. How
Well,
about you? Final thoughts?
no, I've said I mean, this is just fucking phenomenal. This is Buffy at its finest. It doesn't get any
100%.
better. You know, it's just this is one of the things that makes you fall in love with this show. You know,
Yep.
so uh, what website can folks go to in order to maybe connect with us?
They could go to BuffyRevisited.com,
Oh,
and yes, and they will find the following links. They'll find a link to our Facebook.
uh-huh,
They'll find a link to our Twitter.
uh-huh.
They'll find a link to our YouTube, where
Roger.
perhaps they would like to watch us discuss the show as opposed to just listen to it. And they will also find a link to our email, which is buffyrevisited@gmail.com. And through any of those mediums, they can reach out to us and they can tell us how we're doing with the podcast overall. They can tell us their thoughts on the episodes and both series, Buffy and Angel, or just engage in general conversation regarding this show with us. We would absolutely love that. We really would.
We really would at this
We
point.
really would. You know, as much as I love talking to Jeremy every week about these episodes, and I truly do, it would be nice to be able to, for both of us to be able to engage with other people about the show. And I know you're out there. We've got numerous Facebook followers on the Facebook page. We get numerous views on the
I think we have
YouTube.
just a lot of shy people in the
Probably.
audience. You know?
So we know the watchers and the listeners and the fans are out there. Reach out to us. Let's talk about the show.
Reach out and
That's
touch
all.
someone,
Right. In our
especially
no
me.
spots.
Especially All right. Well, thank you for joining us this week, everyone. And we look forward to serving you up another dose of Buffiness next week, which will be season 2, episode 15, Phases. I wonder what that could be all about.
Wouldn't be surprised if this is your favorite episode of the season.
Right. So, anyway, with all that being said, I have been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta ta.